Hi, and welcome back to King Poe Myers. I'm Ariadna,
And I'm Dylan.
and we are back on this beautiful Tuesday with KPM Supernatural, of course, and Sam. Hello, hello, Sammy.
Hello once again.
How's it going?
It is going.
It's going.
I feel like I always say that. I don't know what else. I'm just like, it's going.
It's going.
I mean,
means it's going forward. It's going
yeah,
forward.
Go with our spooky theme. I'm above dirt.
I'm just happy to be alive today and be healthy. I'm going like now that's like complete like manifestation and like motivational and things like that. So that's another kind of topic. Anyways, talking about topics. What are we talking about today? Dylan?
The veil.
Can you say it louder, please?
The veil. I was trying to be ominous.
Oh, okay. I don't think our audience can hear you. All right.
The veil.
And?
The veil.
And witchcraft. All right, so Dylan.
Yes.
Please start us off.
The definition of the veil?
Exactly. So, well, Sam, I think can also respond to that one as well.
So I actually had a lot of like trouble looking up an exact like origin definition of like the veil, but otherwise you would call it the barrier between the physical and the spiritual realms. Yeah, basically sums that up.
Exactly. So it's when well, she really summed it up. It's when both worlds kind of sort of meet. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
What else we got?
So if it exists, is it really thin on San Juan or Halloween?
Yes. Can I go into the answer on this one? Why are you laughing? I answered the question.
Yeah, but just the way you answered it, Sam.
Exactly.
The gumption.
Yes. I feel like it was with confirmation of yes, it exists.
I need a little gavel so I can just be like, yes, next question.
Exactly. I just laughed at the way you said Samhain for some reason, and then
San Juan.
Yeah, I understood San Juan.
Oh Jesus! It's not we're talking about your holiday. We're talking about my holiday. All right.
Exactly. That's why I started laughing.
Y'all said it right.
What?
Neither of y'all said it right.
Exactly.
How is the correct pronunciation?
Samhain.
Samhain. Damn it.
There you go.
But the most common way to say it would be what she said is Samhain.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I didn't say Samhain because I think it was in one of the Halloween movies.
Yeah, Trick or Treat.
They pronounced it San Juan.
Oh, that's not on Trick or Treat then. That's why I started laughing.
This is what happens when you try to be fancy, folks. You try to be fancy and you get burned.
Well, you tease us all the time, so now it's payback.
Also, I mean, to be fair, that is the English language, so.
Exactly.
It makes no sense. Deal with it.
But yes, going into that, it is thin on the day of Halloween or Samhain, and part of the reason why the veil is thin on that day, and a lot of pop culture and history and witchcraft will say, oh, the veil is thinnest around Halloween or All Hallows Eve. And there's a reason for that. So as I said, the veil is the barrier between the physical and the spiritual realm. And what the veil basically, if you break it down, is a liminal space. So liminal comes from the Latin word limen, which means threshold. It's times and spaces. So for example, a liminal space means you're not quite in this place, but you're not out of the other. So standing in the tide on the beach, you're not quite in the ocean, but you're not on the beach either. That's a liminal space. Same thing for like a doorway. You're not quite in, you're not quite out. And if there's anybody who's a fan of the show Charmed on here, there's an entire episode about fairies where they keep talking about the in-between. And in the in-between, you can see the fairies and elves and trolls. So again, it's that liminal space. But basically, it and even in that episode, they talk about the witching hour or midnight as a giant liminal space because it's the time between 2 days. So the whole world at midnight becomes a liminal space. And on uh, All Hallows Eve or Samhain, I'm just going to say Samhain because that's easier for me, is the entire world is a liminal space and the veil is at its thinnest because we are, where did I double check that I wrote this down? Between summer and winter. We're between two seasons. And it's the same, not just for Samhain, but for Beltane as well. It's between winter and summer. So you have summer, winter, winter, summer. And if nobody knows what Beltane is, it's another one of the 8 Sabbats that we celebrate during the Wheel of the Year.
That one I didn't know about. When is that day? Do you know?
That I believe is in May or June, but correct me if I'm wrong. I forget the exact days of the Sabbats.
That's really cool. I didn't know about that one. I always just knew from autumn to winter.
I want to, yeah, it's sometime like as we're approaching summer because Ostera is around Easter time. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something really similar. You're talking about your play on words when you said San Juan. It's also the solstice, like summer solstice. So I'm assuming it's probably close enough. And that's usually the 21st or the 22nd, depending on the year, because as we said previously, depends on like when Easter is or like all these sorts of other things. And just about, I'm pretty sure it's kind of the same thing.
That's really, really cool. I want to know all these dates now.
Of course. There's more than one calendar.
More to celebrate.
Definitely.
Exactly. Lots of bread making and wine drinking.
Mm. Love being a pagan. Is the veil really an illusion?
You're looking at me like you want me to keep going.
I was letting you
taught us.
I was letting you answer first, and then I can answer my answer, or like I can give my answer better said.
All right, I'll go first. Yes, the veil is basically an illusion because it's a perceived block between our physical realm and the spiritual realm when we're really interconnected. So like if you're very spiritual, that's how you would view it, as that veil is just an illusion between these two worlds. And like if you're an occultist or a psychic, then typically you will have one foot in reality and one foot in the spiritual world.
Once again, for those who've seen Soul, can totally understand a few characters from Soul itself. Yeah, my answer is pretty much the same. Of course, it is an illusion. It's illusions are helpful to souls who need a thought form to hold on to. However, for this right now, it's really not necessary. Hence, why it's an illusion. And we come together without a thought of like any barrier in between. Much like what Sam was saying, you know, its thin places are a place of energy, a place where the veil between this world and the eternal world is very thin. And that's the moment where it fuses together, you know. I, for one, have felt these places, or these kind of spaces, better said, many times in my life. I don't know if you have.
I have, but I've lived so much life that I could not pinpoint where on my timeline
I agree with that statement as well. I was trying to think when I was like looking up at these questions, and I wrote some notes for my answers, so I make sure that I remember some of them. And they're like places, and I'm like, well, it's really places that I feel the most connected to. So of course, for me, what you the sample that you said with the ocean, it actually really resonates with me. So I would say something like that. But I felt it like within the city. I felt it within like cemeteries. So it's not really a specific place, at least for me.
Yeah. There's even a quote I found by Albert Einstein, which kind of fits into this, which is reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. And there's this other website that I was doing some of my research on called SRS Paranormal. And one of the things they said was the illusion holds back your spiritual awareness. So as you perceive yourself as a limited physical being. So like, again, if you're very spiritual and you're following a lot of things like going on spiritually in the world right now, a lot of people are becoming more aware of this side of them. And there's this whole thing going on where people say that we're ascending and we're gaining more awareness, and there's influxes of light energy, And as this all happens, the veil is breaking down.
I completely agree. You and me are very spiritual, of course,
Yeah.
and we do follow the same lane more or less. So we definitely are seeing that a lot, not only in our personal lives, but as the way the world is evolving, especially recently. I do see that a whole lot as well.
Apparently there's this thing where, and I can't remember how exactly to find it again, but basically your birthday, like if you break down like your birthday in year, like so like my full date would be 5/28/1992, for example. There's a way of breaking down that number to like one singular number that represents like what type of witch you would be, or like
Yeah,
what.
exactly. It's like
Yeah.
yeah,
And when I did
exactly.
mine, I got super. First of all, I was very excited by the answer, and second of all, I wasn't surprised at all by the answer. It was
Are you
like,
ever really surprised though? I feel like with you and me, you know ourselves so much that when you do one of these things and you know it's real, and you're like, well, of course it's going to be
yeah,
this. Like, I get all the things so that like it's telling me.
pretty much. I was like, of course, this is what this would be. But basically, it was like I was the type of witch. It's like you're the type of witch that would be best with working with the spirit world and spirits and divination. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So
It sounds about right.
my whole life was destined from the day I was born.
But that's the thing, it really, really is. It's like, especially when it comes, I thought for a second there you're gonna talk about like the birth charts and like where the sun is and like all the
Oh, like
horoscope
the
and all
full natal
the
chart.
whole
Yeah.
exactly. But no, I'm happy you said about the witchy stuff as well because been there. I don't I've taken it too long ago. I don't remember. I should know. You shouldn't do anything you want to do. But I'm trying to say I would want to next time probably start writing them down and keep them as notes on my phone to refer back to because I feel like it does help. Same goes for your anagram and same goes for like the like even love languages. Anytime that, you know, not when someone asks me per se, but when I'm in my own personal scenario cases, I understand myself more. That's what the point. And I'm like, oh, I need to write these down so I know. I'm very flowy. I'm very go with the moment. I feel my own energy. So like it's
Same.
like it has to be this. I'm like, no, it just depends on that
I've
moment in
started
life.
keeping a picture of my natal chart on my phone because I've been referring back to it more and more. And I've been following a lot of people who are on TikTok will know who this is, or even on Instagram because she's just blown up so much. Marin Altman,
Oh yeah.
the astrologer. So she keeps introducing like new things to like find out about yourself through your chart, and I'm like, hold on, Marin. Let
There's
me pull up
so
my chart right now.
many. There's so many things. I can't wait
Yeah.
to do like a class. I talk to so many people about this as well online, not only on I don't know if TikTok as much, but Instagram and then the app Clubhouse. Like there's so many in my inner circle. Not even they're online friends, so it's not like in our inner circle, but they're the kind of people that I reach out to. Hence why you and me, well, kind of started our friendship as well, not only because of horror. Well, not with me, but that's with Dylan, but still. Because we
That's a
do
really
talk
good
about these things.
idea. Like you just gave me, is we should mention like our other like top 3 favorite kind of witchy spiritual people to follow.
Oh, I definitely have to look some of them up. I can definitely always mention 2 of my closest friends, not only because they're my closest friends, but because they know their shit. Basically, they really, really know exactly
Yeah, they deserve a
what
total
they're
mention on here.
what they're talking about. I always give them a shout out. Well, through the Always Believer because we do a lot of manifestation, like a lot of spiritual stuff through the Always Believer as well, for those interested. Um, but yeah, I'll definitely drop their names like Shika Shika and Courtney Burns as well. She's Bravely Beautiful blog, I think, recently, and she does astrology very well. And she does like manifestation, Reiki. She talks about the numbers we talked about in the previous episode, how your lucky number is 111, and walks you through to what's all that through YouTube as well with really practical videos. So I'll definitely like tag them, of course, in our caption, and then you can tell us yours as well. But there's quite a few of them. Like I do follow quite a few. Not overload, but enough to be like, okay, this is cool. Like a little bit of everything.
I have like a top 3 I keep like I refer to like every week, usually because they like always do the same stuff on the same day, which is I definitely love Spirit Element, which is
Mm-hmm.
a woman named Lorraine, and she's created that company or I don't know if company is the right word, but she's created that business. So follow the spirit element on Instagram. The other one is the Hood Witch,
Of
which
course.
is like a collective, and they have like horoscopes every Wednesday, and they release a thing for every like full and new moon and things going on. And then even more than that, they go into like different astrologers and witches. And then I also really love my metaphysical maven. She is her name is Magdalena, and she does a lot of stuff with crystals, but she also, her and her friend Julie of As You Are, I think it's As You Are 444 or 44. Basically, the like between the two of them, I love when they talk and do their lives because they go into all the stuff. They go into like different things that are going on, like moon-wise. They go into talking about the ascension stuff everyone was talking about. They talk about empaths, narcissism, twins, like everything. They're great.
Those are my kind of things, without a doubt. Like those are the things that I also always listen to. The like those kind of lives or podcasts or even through Instagram. Like there's tons that I also follow that's about horoscopes and astrology and things like that. I also send them to Dylan because he's also very interested in all this stuff. He's a newbie, like, you know, he's learning, which I love that about him as he smirks. But it's true.
You just called me a noob.
And is it not true?
Dang. I've not been called a noob in so long. I'm so distraught right now.
You having war flashbacks?
Back in high school.
Oh my God, 2008.
2008 was a great year.
Oh my
gosh. I can see my MySpace page in front of me. It's spelled with an N and 2 zeros.
Oh my gosh. I forgot about MySpace for a second there, and I'm like, it still existed in 2008, probably. That's like, oh my God, what, 13 years ago? Holy moly.
So me and Adiana have been talking our heads off. Dylan, do you have anything to say about what we've talked about so far?
Actually, yes. Question for you. How is it that you get this number? Like, what is it comprised of? What is the equation?
For the witch number of like the birth year. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's adding up every day of your birth year. So it's like, for me, like I said, it's 5/28/1992. So I would add up all the numbers. And then if I believe if it's less than 22, or if you have to like break it down to a singular number, and then you go off of the chart on that.
Exactly. This is the first time
the viewers look up the chart on Google. Hopefully that's will pop up.
We'll definitely look it up. And my question for you, Dylan, this is the first time you ever hear about it?
Yes. I've never heard of this.
Interesting.
Ever.
I didn't even know about it till this year, to be fair. Okay. I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, 2020, I'm assuming, not 2021.
No, 2021.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
And when you say year, is it just the last two digits or all four?
All, like every single digit that you have in your year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This went all Mayan on me. I'm 2012.
At first, I thought you were asking me about the angel numbers, which we didn't mention that in the last episode when we talked about our lucky numbers. But yeah, angel numbers.
Yeah, exactly. We have angel numbers as well. There's a whole lot of world for you there's a lot of world for you to uncover still.
Are you gonna start singing?
Why would I start singing?
A whole new world, a new fantastic point of view.
What's crazy to me is
you know me well.
How many levels of the spiritual world there really is. Like every time I learn something new, I learn about something else, and like sometimes I learn about things and I'm like, oh, my brain cannot take this level of existentialism. I just like, I'm gonna bring it back down.
I feel like this is why you and me also became friends, because we believe in all these kind of things. We do all these kind of things, but we also come from different backgrounds of these things. Because for me, with you, another good friend of mine, the main difference is that I've had it since I was little, because my mom was always very spiritual. She was very hippie. So like all my life, literally, I've heard about angel numbers and about witch numbers and about, you know, the pendulum and about reading palms and all these sorts of things. And for me, it's quote unquote normal or logical or whatever you want to call it. So I don't know if I have the same kind of point of view in the sense of like, oh my god, the existential moment. What's it called?
Existentialism.
Thank you. But I appreciate it so much as well. Like when I talk to you and we just go on for hours, like about all these things. I know with this specific segment, we talked more about other paranormal stuff. On my behalf, I had a lot of people ask me a million questions about this kind of stuff. So I think this is a fun episode for that. And I know Dylan had more questions. I definitely knew that.
He did. Is the veil thinner in different locations across the earth?
Yes.
Yes.
What?
Yes, it is.
It's thinner in
So-
different parts of the world.
Yep.
So there are certain places in the world which even like not even just now, but going way back into history, our ancestors just recognized it as like this ground, this area feels different. Or like this maybe that they would walk up and they'd say this feels like a holy place or this feels like a special place. And they might build a monument there or a temple or a church and they would dedicate that place to that. And so then that's considered a place where the veil is thinner. Or like, you know what a really obvious example would be that a lot of people think of is Stonehenge.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. Which is also in your favorite movie, Halloween 3.
One of my favorite movies.
I know,
but
but
good,
still.
good points. Good points. Good points.
Apart from what you said, talking about actually Stonehenge, I thought about that when I read the question as well because nature. We talked about it very briefly once again on a previous episode. You and me talk about it more offline or off camera, whatever, than here. But yeah, and like nature's so important for these kind of things. So in spaces like I don't know why I really thought of Ireland. I think the only reason I thought of Ireland was because I have a friend who lives there and it's like every time he sends me the pictures or you see Ireland, it's all green for most part. You know what I mean?
I mean, and they're rich in history about
Exactly, about
Oh.
Celtic history and things like that. So that's like the first place that I know it's then over there. So another thing that I also wanted to mention with this question was like for us, of course, it is closer to spiritual manifestation, as I always talk about. The land has a higher pitch than the human form because, of course, all matter has sound. So like when there's more land, there's a higher vibration and connection to non-material places. So for example, Ireland's a good example for that because it's more full of nature than anything else. Canada probably, but it's cold. So it's not like you're out there for a long period of time. That's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, it's basically places where nature dominates are energetically more unified with us.
That also ties into what we talked about with ghosts, how ghosts feed off of energy.
Exactly.
Can affect that vibration.
So it's all about vibrations, which I know you and me never talked about vibrations. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think we did. Like Dylan and me in this case, sorry. And vibrations are also very important when it comes to speaking about this and
yeah, vibrations, frequencies. Check the vibes. Vibe check.
the vibe check, exactly.
Wow.
He's just like lost in trance right now. I'm thinking.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Put two and two together.
It all makes sense now. No, it's just thinking on such a macro level.
I think a lot of the things that you and me talk about, and once again referring to Dylan in this case, is that we've been zombied long enough, and there's some people who are more awake than others and see the macro, much like Sam and me have referred to in past episodes. I think especially the last episode, 2 weeks ago. And you move beyond that with what you actually see. So you're
I can't remember if
you
I
will
said
do
it.
anything to mention soul, won't you?
Probably. But this goes before I watched Soul, before Soul came out, and Soul really, quote unquote, recently came out in December. You were saying, Sam?
Yeah, I can't remember if I said it on here in a previous episode or not, or if it was when we were off air. But when I was talking about in Stranger Things, how he talked about the curtain, and he wasn't even talking about spiritual stuff, but it applies to the veil here.
Exactly.
Whereas he was like,
Exactly.
some people don't want to know what's behind the curtain. They're comfortable having the curtain there.
Exactly.
They want to know, versus people who want to pull it back and find out the truth.
And that's where you and me come in, and that's where also Dylan, once again, is very interested in these kind of things.
Yeah.
And you see more, but you go see beyond. Super random because not on topic, but it's a little bit on topic. I read the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle. She goes into it a little bit, tips and bits, and also about Christianity, which we talked a lot about in our last episode 2 weeks ago. And I have to refer to the book because it's one of those books that kind of helps you also see what's behind. And I loved it. I think it's great. Yeah. Next question, babes.
My mind's getting blown right now. Seriously. All right. How are you connected to the spiritual world? Oh, good Lord.
I mean, this could be a long answer. We're gonna
This is an episode. This is a series.
Okay, well, this would be us just talking about how we feel connected, not going into our experiences. Because
exactly. We're saving that.
So how do you personally feel connected?
I'm gonna let Ariana go first because I've been going first a lot. So
well, if it's me in particular, of course it's gonna be, I've said it once, I've said it probably 3-4 times by now in these episodes. Ever since I was little, as long as I could remember, it was always right there in front of me. It was something that I'm very used to. I'm very used to talking to angels. I'm very used to having premonitions. I'm very used to all these sorts of things. And then I was trying to translate, like, how do I say it, as in, like, how do I turn that into a definition? And because I'm a better writer than talker, apparently, than speaker, I wrote that you have enhanced senses. So like sound, vision, taste, touch, or even sense are methods of communications that we that are often utilized, by spirits. Going back to the scent thing, I always go back to that story. I don't know why, the one that we said way back when. I think it was like our second episode of Haunted Places Around the World. The lavender smell of that lady. But it's true that because I take smell very seriously, for example. So I know for me, it's something that I can smell really, really well, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, smell is also your strongest sense tied to your memory.
Exactly. So for me, a lot of the times when it comes to knowing there's a certain presence, sometimes I get a certain kind of smell.
Interesting.
You're smelling out the ghost?
Yeah, exactly. Like it just you smell it differently. Like if, for example, if you perfectly, no one's cooking, no one's baking cookies, but you smell something like that, it's like a little thing, basically. I guess that's one of the best ways I can summarize it. And ringing in my ears as well.
That is a very common one.
Yeah. The high-pitched one.
What does that mean?
Spirits trying to communicate with you.
Whoa, I get that a lot.
And then they'll tell you too that depending on what ear you hear the ringing in will depend on what message you're receiving or what exactly is happening.
Exactly. And once again, this is like what you said, what Dylan was saying teasingly. This could be a whole episode, this could be a whole segment, this could be, a whole book in itself, because I've just always been so spiritually tied to all these senses. I don't know how to explain myself, but yeah. You can go now.
Sensitive, basically, sensitive to that world.
Yeah, exactly.
I've experienced the ringing in the ears before. I'm very funny about it. I'll be sitting on the couch and my ear will start ringing while I'm like in the middle of like eating chips and watching Buffy, and I'll just sit up and be like, "What? What do you want?"
It's also something, because a lot of people, what's the thing when your ear is ringing, and like there's a medical term for it, tendonitis is for like the muscles, isn't it?
Broken eardrum?
Tinnitus.
How
a lot of doctors
exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of people going back to the whole oh my goodness gracious, can I speak today? Going back to the Stranger Things that you said, like you pull the curtain. So
Yeah.
in this side, people think if you go to the doctor, it's tinnitus. And you're like, no, if you look forward, if you not look forward, but if you look behind the curtain, if you look another deeper, gracias, mi amor, it could be this.
Yeah, tinnitus is also like pretty rare, and a lot of doctors will just say like, "Oh, I mean, that's the only thing it could be," because they're not going to tell you the spiritual side of it. Or they'll say,
Exactly.
for example, maybe you'll go to the doctor, and the doctor will say, "You don't have tinnitus, but you keep hearing ringing in your ears."
Exactly, things like that. And once again, this goes into like more of the Western culture and medicine and things like that that we're
Yeah.
not going to get to in this episode. But yeah, something like that. What's your answer,
So,
darling?
aside from that, my spiritual connection to the world is I've always been very sensitive to the other side ever since I was a little kid. I always had ghosts and spirits in my life. I'm also what I would consider clairaudient. I have very good hearing, and so that hearing has led to hearing the beyond talking to me. So that happens a lot. And then also I have a I would say psychic dreams, but also I don't know if I would totally describe it as psychic dreaming because I've experienced different things with my dreams. I've experienced getting to communicate with spirits via my dreams. I've experienced getting to enter into what I would describe as another realm in my dreams, though I don't know if that was astral projecting or not. I don't think I've ever done that, but and then my biggest one is that I'm psychically connected to people. Like it's not even like I don't really have like a premonition of the future. I've had like very minor ones, or like
Mhm.
even the one big one I ever had in my life happened right while I was dreaming it. So I didn't like get a know ahead of time. I like woke up and was like, oh, this thing happened while I was sleeping and I dreamt about it. Which was the tsunami that actually hit Japan in 2011. But yeah, that was crazy. I like woke up and I was like, I looked at my roommate at the time and I was like, dude, you're not gonna believe this dream I had. And she looked at me and she went, dude, you're not gonna believe what happened in Japan. Look out the window. The after effects of the tsunami. Because I was at my college in Santa Cruz at the time, which is like, if anyone doesn't know, is on the West Coast. So the after effects of that tsunami was actually like the ocean was crazy on the West Coast that day. So and I
That's
was like, dang it.
crazy.
Like I dreamt of it while it was happening. I didn't get to tell you ahead of time. But so like, that was the only
That's
big premonition. But like for the psychic connecting to people is like if the more of an emotional connection you have with me, or maybe even a past life connection or anything like that, I will dream about you. So
yep.
if
I
there's
definitely agree with that one. I
yeah, if
definitely
you have anything like you need to tell me or that you're keeping from me or you just want to hang out with me in the dream world, trust me, I will dream about you.
I definitely agree with you in that one. And also like just tuning into people's lives even without knowing them. Once again, this is this we can save till like our last and final episodes as we planned. But definitely just being tuned to that sensitive side of like understanding and like
Oh yeah.
I've talked to people and it's like, oh, you've done this and this and you're going through this and they're like, we just met at this bar 2 minutes ago. And I'm like, I
Right?
know,
I was
but
just
here we are.
about to say that. I've had people I don't even know approach me knowing that I was sensitive to the other side, even though they didn't know me. Like, I think the craziest experience I've had along those lines was I was at the beach one time by myself and I was just sitting on a log looking at the ocean. And this man who's walking down the beach looks at me and he walks over to me and he goes, I don't know why I feel this way, but I feel like I can talk to you about this. And he said, my aunt just died and I was really close to her. And I just had him sit down next to me and we talked it out. Like I didn't know him, but I know that I was supposed to help heal him and talk to him about this. And it wasn't the first time that had happened either. I'd had friends witness this shit. Like I
Yeah.
would tell my friends, like, yo, people just talk to me. And they're like, nuh-uh. And like one time we're on the bus, me and all my friends, this old lady sits down next to me and she just turns to me and she goes, my son just died. And I just start talking to her about her son. I don't fucking know this lady. And like all my friends are on the other side of me, like, what the fuck is happening right now?
But it happens so much. Like he's told me as well. Like he's seen it happen as well. Like it just happens on a constant basis. Radar,
Yeah.
everything. And not only like, especially where we live and how we are living right now with the current situation, it also happens to me a lot online. Once again, I do have other podcasts. I do speak a lot about this, so it's normal that people just come up to me and like DM me with a whole bunch of their storyline. So it's pretty interesting as well. Anyways, once again, there's a whole that's for a whole episode segment and then some. What's your next question, Dylan?
Talking about witchcraft.
Let's talk about witchcraft. Okay.
So, I'm very excited about this. Can anyone be a witch?
Yes.
And that was our podcast. Thank
Where's
you.
my gavel?
Where's my gavel? Yes, of course anybody can be a witch. Anybody. It's your power, it's your magic. You do whatever you like with it. You can there's so many books, which I have a whole list that's coming up next of just ways you can learn spells and
Wait, there are spells.
yes. There's so many yes, the answer I love Sam's gavel. I think we both need a gavel, like yes. Period. Next.
Yeah, witchcraft is comes from you and your power.
Mhm.
I mean, you can draw on more things than that. You could draw on nature, you could draw on the moon, you can maybe be in a coven and draw on it with other people, but it's your energy, it's your divine power, your divine right.
Exactly.
Wow.
What's your next question?
Well,
He's like, hold on a minute.
yeah, I know, exactly.
You're not gonna
I mean-
speed past that. Like you didn't just say what you just said.
I can't go directly to go or whatever the how are
Go
you
directly to go. How do I phrase this? I mean, is it true that women are predominantly more in tune with this part of nature?
I mean, yes, in a sense they are. Women are more in tune with it because if you think about it, women are vessels for life. We create life from within ourselves. So in that way, we're very connected. And we're also connected in the way that the way the moon affects us. Because the moon affects the tides. The moon affects our monthly cycle. Like we're very in tune with nature.
So I agree, obviously. It's more of a yes than a no. The only way I would tell you a no is simply because I also know that men can also have power.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not
Yeah.
like we have more power than them precisely, but we are more we are more open to it, I feel like, because of everything that Sam just said.
Mm-hmm. Can a Christian be a witch?
Yes.
Yes. As well.
And I'm gonna tell you why.
Tell me why.
And then I can probably agree actually after you say why.
Because any religion can actually be a witch. You can have Christian witches, Catholic witches, Jewish. You can be there's even a different sects of satanic witchcraft, Luciferian witchcraft. Like there's so many different versions. And the thing that a lot of people don't realize about witchcraft is it's not a religion. Wicca,
Exactly.
being Wiccan is a religion, but witchcraft itself is a practice and a craft. So anybody can have their own practice.
And I once again I knew I was going to agree with what you're going to say. And I wrote down the only two notes was your magic, your business.
Nice.
That's literally what I wrote to like remember that like that's the first thing when I read the question. I was like, no, your magic, your business. You can be whatever the F you want.
Witchcraft
Yeah.
Incorporated.
What do you mean? What?
You just said your own business.
Oh, well.
There's even like, throughout history and culture, there's even different, aside from, the religious aspect of witchcraft, you even have the different cultural sects of witchcraft. So for example, you have Santeria, Stragaria, Brujeria, Voodoo, Hoodoo, Appalachian folk magic. Like there's there's so many different types of witchcraft on so many different levels. Like, to figure out where you kind of fit into that, you just have to start researching. You just got to pick a spot and go for it, because there's so much information out there.
I mean, I know we've talked about, I still want to know about, all the different types, but like, we'll be watching something. You'd be like, I know that one, and not that one, and I like this one.
Not that one.
It's also worth mentioning right here that for anyone who is interested in getting into witchcraft and does start learning about different parts of it,
Hi, I'm
some
Dylan.
practices are closed. Some practices are like for those cultures only, and you're not supposed to practice that or try summoning ancestors from a culture that's not yours.
Interesting.
Yes. So it's definitely something for people to look out for when they research it.
So you're not gonna let that slide by me. We're talking about spells. So spells really work.
Yes. Depending on the spell.
I love the answer.
Okay, that's great. Can care to elaborate?
Here, I don't know how I want to elaborate this, but here's what I really want to say though, is at the base of my belief system, and I think this fits into a lot of witchcraft, is the base of my personal belief system is whatever you believe in, you give power to.
Exactly.
So if you believe in a spell, or you believe in a god, or you believe it, if you believe in a curse, whatever you believe in, you give power to.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I completely and utterly agree. There's a reason why I created something called the Always Believer. A lot of people have asked me in the past, way back when, but I guess less now than before, to be honest, but like, oh, is it like you believe in God, or you believe, like, is it religious? The first time they read that name. And I'm like, no, I'm not a Christian. Like, that's not exactly, I don't talk about that. I talk a lot about it's inspiring stories based in real life, and you're very, very honest, basically. And that's the whole movement behind Go to Fly and whatever else I have going on with Always Believer. The reason behind the name is simply because that's the first step. I used to say always believe when I was a kid. I had a really rough upbringing, all the way to like my mid-20s, basically. So most of my life. And always believe was something that was very prominent in my life, because that's like the base of it, like what Sam was saying. Yeah, spells work because it is magic, and it can be in any way, shape, or form. A simple way.
No.
Yes.
Did it work?
Yes. A simple example, what I was going to say, not my example precisely, but people who are like green thumbs, for example, who are like really good at like plant and herbs and things like that, like that's their kind of magic.
Interesting.
People who are good at baking, people who are good at art, like Sam, who's very, very good at art, that's her kind of magic. And whatever she wants to do with that so she can make spells work, her power is in her art.
I've never actually used my art for witchcraft, believe it or not.
I believe it. But your power is there because you are a really good artist, and that's what your soul calls out to do. So yeah.
I've actually I have never really done too many spells in general. Most of what I do is like cleansing and divination. But I have like cast a few spells before. I think one of the funniest ones is like there's a spell for if you lose something and you're trying to find it, and it's like a vocal spell. I've done that so that I can find like shit I misplaced.
I love that.
I'm basically what you describe as either like a bruh witch or a chaos witch. I'm just like fucking whatever.
I can see that. I can see you as a chaos
Where's
witch.
my fucking crystal?
Oh my gosh, which we haven't talked a lot about crystals as well, but I agree with you. With things like that, of course.
Yeah.
I use the pendulum as well for like missing things. But yeah. What else you got?
I just love the fact that, there's no great, like spell or curse, like Maleficent make a level. You're like, where's my pen? God damn it.
It's my lucky pen.
Yeah.
Especially knowing Sam. I feel like once you learn how to like do spells and things like that, that's where you be you.
Demons of hell, I summon thee. Where is thy pen?
I actually tried to cast a big spell once and it backfired.
Ooh.
And that was like kind of crazy. I won't go into the details of it all, but like basically every single light in my apartment at the time, and I was living by myself, started to go out. Like the light bulbs were like going out, and I was like, oh fuck. And like I'd go to the other room and I would turn the light on and immediately all the lights, and I was like, oh no. And I was like texting my other witch friend at the time, I was like, I think I fucked up. And she was like, you better sage and hope to God.
Oh my god. Oh, sage. Do you sage every day? I don't think you use sage every day.
No, not every day is excessive.
Okay. No, I know a lot of people who do. That's why I was like,
Fucking modern day witches. I fucked up bad.
I mean, when you're learning, it's gonna happen. So
like everything else.
And it's important for baby witches to know, don't mess with anything that you haven't thoroughly researched, or
Oh yes, please don't do
know
that.
what you're doing. Don't mess with things that you probably shouldn't be. Obviously, that goes kind of without saying.
Yep.
Yeah. So for the most important question of this entire podcast is, I'm interested in becoming a witch. Where do I pick up my books? How do I learn this?
Yeah.
I want, teach me more. I want to learn more.
Like, where do you start, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you could start by researching on the internet, or like the other thing I would say with that though is with the internet and social media, there is a lot of misinformation. So I would look up your local pagan or witch shops, and I would go look for books there. And I've gone to, there's a local witch shop here in Brooklyn called Catland Books. If anyone lives in New York City or the surrounding area, it's a great local witch shop. And one of the workers there, I don't remember her name, but when I was having a discussion with her about like, hey, like, I'm still kind of a newbie witch, like, where should I start? And she said, well, a great place to start is with your own family line. You could start with your ancestors and learning about your heritage, any witchcraft that might be within, that ancestry or that culture. Another thing is, pick out something you like and just learn more about it. Maybe you want to learn more about divination, or maybe you want to learn more about crystals, so you just kind of pick anywhere and then go from there.
Exactly. I like that answer a whole lot, to be honest. I do have a list of, I want to say 6 or 7 books, which I'm not going to name, but I will leave in the caption for today, from like The Green Witch, for example. It's just modern guide to witchcraft. What else did I have here? A year and a day of everyday witchcraft. So it's just like the basic how-to books, and they're really great to start. A lot of the times when we go to the bookstore, that's kind of the first place I go to like spirituality, and I have a bunch of books that are about like palm reading and about crystals and about there's a lot pendulums and all these sorts of things, and I think that's just the basics of where to start. I do like your idea of your ancestors, but specifically I feel like what you said about the crystals, for example, because why not? You could find more information about them and do the set actions. So if you really like crystals, find information about it, buy crystals, recharge them every full moon. You practice it. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, research it, great. Buy the book, great. I'll definitely leave a list down below. But as soon as you get that, go the step further right away, so you get the grasp of it right away.
Exactly.
I'm doing it. I'm excited.
Also, talking to other experienced witches. I mean,
yeah,
if they're willing to share their information. Some of them don't want to be hassled by a ton of baby witches trying to make a itty bitty spell jar with like 3 herbs in it. They're like, no, go away. Like, if they're willing to help you, then sure.
Agreed.
You get me excited. I'm getting excited by this. Is it okay to include my kids or my future children, for this case, in spiritual and magical lifestyles when you give them the talk?
With this question, I feel like witchcraft or not, you can't be telling people how to raise their kids. So if somebody does want to raise their kids in that, then that is their business.
All right. I just wanted to make sure they finished talking so I don't interrupt you. That's why I looked up.
Yeah. I mean,
All
obviously, don't raise your kids to be bigoted in any way. But like, what I mean is like, if they are spiritual family, then they're a spiritual family.
All right. I completely agree. The first sentence I remember writing down for this one would be, it's deeply personal.
Yes.
But other than that, ways, I wrote a bunch because I've always had kids around me, and I've always, since I grew up very spiritual, I have a lot of information with that. So I say, you can try meditation, affirmations, holding a bonfire on solstice, and enjoying letting go together. You can start that way. You can make moon rocks so they start seeing like the moon's power beyond what they see on this earth, because the moon has a lot of power, of course. You can teach them a moon myth. You can charge their gemstones. You can go for a moon walk. You can let them create their own altar. I think that's probably something really cool to do for them and with them.
That's really cool.
You can do a DIY magic potion, which is also really cool because I've done this as well. You can break out your essential oils, especially for the older kids, of course, but still, or herbs and spices, and just like let them mix and match it, basically. You can tell your child to come up with an intention for the moon cycle. So like that intention for the whole month, basically, and just like, it could be like, I wrote a few examples as like, if I were an 8-year-old, I guess it's like to get better grades, to be nicer to my younger sibling, for example.
Yeah.
And then teach them like which herbs and oils correspond to their intentions as well. And let them blend them and mix them and things like that. So I know I have that one. Oh yeah, and the next example comes later, I think. But yeah, quite a few little mini ways that you can do that.
I think if you also have like a family with a long history of passing down like the traditions like that, of like how to make different things in whatever sect of witchcraft you have, and like it's important to pass those things down through your family, then by all means teach them to your kids, pass that knowledge on. I mean, a lot of tradition used to be oral tradition, and there's a lot of things that are lost to time because we didn't write shit down.
Exactly. And with examples that I've used, I mean, I don't think it's going to change your lifestyle a lot. It's not like, oh my God, I have to do this now. I'm like, no, you're actually, you're just, whatever you're doing as a parent, if you already are doing those moonwalks, if you already are doing those manifestations, just let them come along, basically, and join that as well. Little things like that.
My mother was raised, so my biological family is very like Christian Catholic. And so my mother was raised going to church, Christian church, and all of that. But when my mom was raising my sister and I, she never really took us to church. She let like grandparents and family friends take us every now and again. And I remember asking her about it. I was like, Mom, why don't you take us to church? Why don't we do this? And she goes, well, I don't feel like I have to go to church every Sunday to prove I believe in God. And also, if you want to go and see it and experience it and take a look for yourself, then go. I encourage you to go. Like, my mom was her biggest thing when raising my sister and I was allowing us to be open-minded and explore different ideas. And also her biggest thing that she instilled in us was to be kind. That was always her thing, is just be kind to others, like kindness.
Well, my mom did the exact same thing.
Yeah. And that open-mindedness kind of led me to be the spiritual person I am, because I was exploring all those different ideas. And then with the kindness, it was being respectful of everybody's different ideas.
Exactly. That's why I love that a lot. I don't get that asked often. I don't get asked that
asked that often.
Oh my God, that's a tongue twister right there. Anymore, as I did when I was younger, better said, is why didn't I do my first communion, or why it was the one after my first communion, the other one, the confirmation. And I'm like, because I didn't want to. And they're like, oh my God, your parents let you like skip it? And I'm like, my mom let me do whatever I wanted in a good way. Like I explored whatever I wanted. So I didn't want to do it. Neither my brother neither my brother or me did it because we were like, well, no, we just want to do something differently. I'm way more spiritual by all means, ways, shapes, and forms. And then the kindness to it and the respect to it as well. So definitely agree with you.
I mean, that's kind of how I was brought up. I mean, it was more like believe, but you don't have to go to church every day. You don't have to like prove anything. And I remember I grew up in a very, very Catholic town. So everyone went to CCD and everyone talked about CCD. And I'm like, what's CCD? Like, this has been years of you guys talking about this. What the hell is this? And they're like, wait, but I thought you were Christian, Dylan. I'm like, I am. But you don't go to CCD. I'm like, no, what is it? And like and it was just so different for them because like they were all like devout Catholics. They all went to church together and they could not comprehend like that I was a Christian and I didn't go to CCD. And then my best friend found out that I was a Protestant, and he's like, "Oh, so you're a heretic?" I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh wow. I was very insulted at the time, but then I grew to like, I am a heretic. I like that.
I've never been called a heretic, but I have been called a heathen. That's what me and my sister were called as children because my mother wasn't taking us to church and she was letting us run free and be wild and explore and do whatever we wanted. So we were called heathen children.
Letting children run around and play and enjoy the magic of life. Ugh. Ugh.
Sorcery. Witchcraft.
Good
oh my goodness.
parenting? Whatever you want to call it, I guess.
Magic. That is the magic of parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So witches. I'm all about this journey. So how do I tap my spiritual energy? How do I harness it? How do I gain more power?
Of course you would say that. Of course your end goal is give me power because you love friggin' Tyrion, not Tyrion, but Tywin Lannister with his power.
Yes. And to all the Star Wars fans out there, I'm devout to the Sith cause. So yes.
Also, he's a Slytherin.
Just so you guys know, you're dealing with a Slytherin.
And then they're thinking like,
I bring it up a lot. I'm like, Slytherin.
You do. Both of you do. We also get asked like, how are you two together? I'm like, opposites attract, dude. Opposites attract. We make a balance happen. That's what happens. Because we're so different. Be my guest. Go first if you like to. And then I'll respond.
This one away.
All right. Sure thing.
Neither of us want to give Dylan power. Neither of us want to give Dylan power.
All right, this goes for Dylan and like all of our listeners out there, basically. Oh gosh, there's a million ways, and the best way to start, first of all, take a day and just like spend time with yourself without like any distractions. I feel like you need to start your inner journey a lot more than people think. I think we're easily distracted, but once again, that's a whole different conversation. It could be anything as simple as going to breakfast, reading a book, hiking, enjoying a cup of coffee while reading a book, meditate, take a bath. All these sorts of things for you to nurture yourself and your soul. I feel like that's the first and foremost thing. So being a spiritual person is also like saying that you are a person you're choosing to be your own highest priority.
Okay.
Without disrespecting everybody else, without being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Even though selfish is actually probably a good word lately, without just thinking about yourself, better said. A spiritual person cares about other people, animals, and the planet, of course, and they know that we are all one. And when I say one, I mean that with a capital O. I have different ways of tapping into my spiritual energy in the morning. I have my own rituals. daily, both in the morning, midday, and night, or almost daily. There's one called the 5-5-5 practice, which I don't know if Sam knows it.
I might, maybe by a different name.
Probably,
Yeah.
which is 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes for stretching, and 5 minutes to mentally prepare for the day. Little things like that. Learn to forgive, practice patience, always be truthful, write in your gratitude gratitude journal, listen to your instincts.
Okay.
So all these things that, once again, I feel like anytime I explain them, for me they're common because I'm so used to doing these things. I'm so used to doing a gratitude journal every day. I'm so used to meditating and stretching and all doing all these sorts of things. But I had a lot of clients back in the day. I get a lot of questions through my DMs just in general, and I always tell them these kind of things. And when you start practicing it, like putting it those habits into place, you feel more aligned with who you are and what you do. And once again, these are just like the basics. This is like the most basic introduction answer I can probably give you right now.
And it was a beautiful answer too.
Thank you.
All the beautiful stuff. If you're like me and you have trouble getting up in the morning, and you have trouble trying to figure out your spiritual shit, you could instill some spiritual energy in your coffee, and also you can do the fun stuff of shadow work, confronting your trauma, bitches.
Exactly. That's a big one. Shadow work is what you just said. It's confronting your traumas.
Yeah, roll out of bed, I stir my coffee clockwise to invite positivity, and then I confront my fucking demons.
And that's
Happy
why I love you.
Tuesday, y'all.
That's why I love you. I adore people who do shadow work because it's so, I don't swear usually, but it's so goddamn important. It's so important to do shadow work. And
people, like, they think you have to be either like a shadow worker or a light worker, but for me, I feel like I'm both. Like,
I think once again, balance is key. Much like I always joke around with, like, whenever I get asked, like Dylan and I, I'm not kind of, how did that come to balance? Balance is key in life, and in order to bring the light, you have to do the shadow work. And shadow work is a real bitch. It's like it's when you really find out who the fuck you are and you really take it to the next level and you really push yourself and walk through the hells of fire. And then you're like, okay, now I can do a little bit light work and I can, do other stuff as well.
Like, working through your own shadow work, it makes it easier for you to help others, whether you're helping them with their shadow. And you can't entirely help somebody else with that because that's something they have to do themselves and it's not your responsibility. But being that light too, going through your darkness to be light for other people.
Completely agree. And I think there's two quotes, or at least there's two mini things I want to say really quickly before I forget them. On one hand is be the light in the darkness. And so even if you are doing your own shadow work, you still have to make sure the light preserves in order for you to move forward, of course. And at the same time, this is actually by Courtney. We were talking the other day. And she's like, don't you ever feel like you got a lot of clients or a lot of people coming to you and saying like, oh, I feel bad for feeling happy in this time of global everything, basically. I'm like, yeah, I look at a lot of people who tell me that as well. And I'm like, I tell them it's okay to be happy this time. It's okay. You're allowed to be happy. You are actually the light for other people. Use that to your advantage in a good way and be that light, because there's going to come a time where it's going to flip. So it's absolutely okay as well. So those are my 2 cents.
Very nice. Very nice. What does a spiritual healer do? Euler.
I was waiting to see if she.
Euler.
All right. No, I can start. So the spiritual aspects refers to spiritual energy working at a deep level of our spiritual being. So in other words, the healing involves the transfer of energy. like what we always talk about. It is not from the healer, him or herself, but the healer links with the universal or the divine energy, once again, both in capital letter, to channel healing for the mind, body, and spirit. So it's the person that is going to connect you from what we're talking about with like the veil, kind of like that realm and this realm.
Mm.
It's not the actual person who's healing you.
Mm.
They're just, I don't want to call it the messenger precisely. I just want to call it like, I don't actually know, a healer.
Guide.
Just a guide. I like
Guide.
that word, a guide.
Like, especially like a lot of people will have spiritual experiences while taking different kinds of drugs, and they'll have like a trip sitter, or that trip sitter can also kind of be like a guide if they're experienced with that drug, kind of helping you through that spiritual journey or whatever you're experiencing.
Exactly. Um,
Next question.
sure.
From that look, what is an altar and what can we put in it?
Well, there are so many different kinds of altars, actually. There's like a few, different kinds of altars that you can have. For example, I personally have an ancestor altar. As you guys remember, I mentioned earlier, working with my ancestors, because I never really got to fully know my biological family, for the viewers, just so they understand why I have an ancestor altar. And also because I was adopted when I was young, so this is my way of getting to kind of connect more with like the family that I lost. And like, for example, I lost my mom when I was really young, so that's a big part of my ancestor altar is my mom. I have one of the things you put on an ancestor altar, and there's, this is called ancestor veneration, dedicating a special place to them. And you always want to pick a place in your house that there's not like a lot of foot traffic, a special place that you can have this altar. You definitely want to make sure that you clean and cleanse that area. From what I've researched, a lot of things will say creating Florida water and cleansing your altar with that. And then you would place things on it like pictures of your past loved ones, things that belong to them, maybe vices of theirs. This one is touch and go, the vices. Like maybe you don't want to give in to their addictions, but at the same time, maybe you want to place a thing of whiskey for your grandfather or a glass of wine for your grandmother, things like that. There's also like you want to leave them offerings. So like food offerings is very common in a lot of cultures. They also say to put things that represent like the elements on there. So like a thing of water for your ancestors, always keeping, like if you've ever seen prayer candles, those really tall, skinny candles, like the ones that'll burn for like 7 days, you put a prayer candle on there that stays lit. And usually I'll do like a white protection one, just so that like my ancestors and my spirit guides just continue to protect my home and my surroundings and my family. So protection candle, and then I have like a little thing of dirt for earth, and for air you would do things like incense. So I have my incense burner over there, and then let me think if there was anything else. Oh, sometimes they'll say to place money on an ancestor altar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they'll say that this is either your family members have, I kind of find this funny, I'm sorry, debt in the afterlife, or that they need the money for like crossing over. It depends on your beliefs. So I don't know if this is right or wrong necessarily, but two birds with one stone. The dirt I have is dirt from a bank.
There you go.
I do have a little bit of money and coins in the offering dish, of course, but just to double check.
It's not the main attraction of your altar, basically.
And you know what? Sometimes, depending, like a lot of people outside of ancestor altars, they'll have things like deity altars. And whether it's your ancestors or your deities, whatever you're worshiping, sometimes they'll come to you in your dreams or a message asking you to put a specific thing on your altar for them. From what I understand, the deities and gods will ask for really weird shit sometimes.
Exactly. At the end of the day, they were human too, and everyone has their kinks, without a doubt. An altar, well, it's essential. That's an ancestor one, of course, but still, it's just a place where you have in your house to honor yourself, your spiritual path, a place where you can feel the most comfortable, protected, aligned, whatever word you want to insert that's the best for your
Connected.
vocabulary. Connected. I have one. We move around a lot, and our place is really small, so it's kind of difficult for me to have an ongoing one constantly. I have my cards, I have my tarot cards, I have my angel cards, I have a pendulum, I have my gratitude journal, and my manifestation, and then I've had in the past, I've had it bigger, so it's like with my crystals and with my incense, like you said. I've had different things for different moments in my life. Also have had it's kind of a long story, but this really small stuffed animal that's really important to me. So I've had him there, a little tiny teddy bear that has like a whole different meaning when it comes to like my angel work and things like that. And yeah, so you can always have one. A lot of what you described, by the way, reminded me, of course, Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, when we talked about in the last episode. But yeah, that's what it is.
To our listeners and for you, Sam, Ari is very obviously she cares a lot about her tarot cards, her crystals, and she finally decided on this one place to put all of her things. And she's like, "Do not put your controllers or anything on my spiritual place. This is my area." I'm like, "All right, fine." I got yelled at a few times by like my wrappers on it, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, that's the altar." She's since had to vacate the altar because our cat is just like, yeah, no, this is where I stretch, and this does not work for me. And he would just start knocking her shit off the thing. Like, oh my god.
Because it's right next to the window, and he loves being at the window.
So he'll be like, "This is where I put my butt,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm gonna stretch
and he
onto the
stretches.
window."
And there goes all my tarot cards and things like that. You're like, "Thank you, Banks. I love you." I since then the cards have been either on the top shelf or the bottom shelf. Once again, really small place right now where we're living, so it's kind of complicated to like have a place for everything we want in our paradise, I guess. And what's it called? I kind of, because I'm so connected to Banks / animals, and especially cats, I took it as a good sign as well. He laughs, as you can clearly see, but I'm like, it's Banks. It's he's kind of my spiritual guide to some extent, and we spent a lot of time together. So, and I love the connection I have with that, so I was okay with it. I just put it underneath, and then that's it. But in the future, it'll be very different.
Fuck
without
your
a
tarot
doubt.
cards. You just need me.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I only need Banks. Banks cuddles with me 15 minutes in a row, and like I hold him like a little baby, and he's just there, purrs, and I calm down. So
I have the exact opposite with Luna when it comes to my altar. She doesn't go anywhere near it. And she'll come in here like every now and again, and she'll stare at it like this. I could have the light off in this room and not be in this room, and she'll come sit in the doorway and stare at the altar.
they're very mystical creatures, and they're very sensitive. They know.
Even when I was nervous around the last time that I made a food offering, and I had a plate full of like real like food I'd completely set up for my ancestors. I had it on my altar, and I thought for sure my cat was going to jump up there and eat the shit out of all of it. And she didn't touch it. She didn't even go anywhere near it. And I was like, good kitty. You know that
she knows. That's the thing. She knows.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got our way, babes?
I just think that's really, really cool that your cat is just kind of watching it. Like, you can come visit, but you stay on your side. Like, because cats are originally the guardians of the underworld.
You read something about cats the other day that you sent me. Don't remember right now though. Yeah, exactly. It'll come to us at some point of the episode, of course.
But moving on to the next question. what is a witch doctor?
Uh, a witch doctor is basically a medicine man or a shaman. The full-on definition will say a magician credited with powers of healing, divination, and protection against the magic of others. A lot of the terms for witch doctor originated in the 18th century. Some of like the earliest sightings are like in text being 1836. It's typically like the regions where you're going to hear the most about witch doctors are Africa and Europe, different parts. And for the most part, witch doctor is kind of like, I would say, based off of what I was reading, kind of the Europeans using that description. Oh, you're a witch doctor. But again, like they were medicine man, shaman, like they were there to help. And then other times it got more into like, obviously you do have a witchcraft aspect to it. Like, for example, the killing of albino people for their parts because they're supposed to be very powerful.
Exactly. I have pretty much the same response. The only thing that I know that I've noticed differently would be also in some cultures it's also like a healer and it's a her and she's like the midwife, like today's modern, I guess, midwife basically. I remembered when I was looking up and researching, but also when we went to Salem a bunch of times because we have it like right there. And one of the times we went to a museum to, I forgot the name of the museum, but it'll come to us and I'll write it in the caption basically. And they talked about witch doctors and they talked to her as like if she the midwife from like the 1800s or 1700s or whatever.
Yeah.
As well.
It's also a super popular Halloween song.
As well. Alrighty then.
I found what you're looking for.
Oh, the quote?
Yes.
Okay, the quote. I love the cat quote.
In Celtic folklore, there's a magical set of cats, or fairy cats. In Ireland, they are called Cotsey. Pronounced that's how it's pronounced, Cotsey or Kochi. They are thought as fairies, even witches, and as a spirit creatures that merely take the form of a cat.
Interesting.
Right? Cats are so magical. I love cats.
I feel like cats are just like kind of like, yeah, only I think they're just like gods, like you foolish humans.
You call Banks a god all the time.
He is.
I'm also thinking back to that scene in The Mummy where Brendan Fraser holds up the cat and he goes, "Look what I got."
There have been many times in this podcast I've been thinking about The Mummy and just Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. And he actually freaks out and The Mummy like disappears like oh kitties.
All right. What else we got? I feel like we're almost done wrapping up this episode.
I do believe, yes, it is lightning round time.
Okay. Before we do lightning round, which I freaking adore, we have, I wanted to mention before, color magic as well.
Oh, what the hell is color magic?
The magic of colors.
The magic of colors, literally. Thank you.
On to the spirit, on to lightning round.
Oh my gosh, I love color magic. It operates under the theory that every color vibrates with a certain kind of energy. So like in simpler terms, remember the mood ring?
Yes.
Back when you were a kid, kind of sort of how like a color represents a mood.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
I always broke those. I have too many moods.
Preach. So modern witches use this kind of energy in a deliberate way to enhance a spell. So for example, a practitioner of candle magic would likely choose the ritual candles in a particular color, for him or his or her intention.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that.
Sense. Exactly, me too.
I haven't.
For example, you can dress your altar in colors that evoke the season or wear ritual items with their colors in mind, of course, not only for your altar, but that specific day for a specific event, or simply because even if you're staying home like most of the world lately, just because you want to wear that color. But there's so many other different ways. When I researched it even more, the thing that came to my mind that you thought I was crazy for way back when, I think when we, oh my goodness. Sorry, I don't know if we met or not actually when we saw this picture of me when I was like, had all the colors.
Oh yeah, I thought you were a psycho.
Exactly. It's it really did.
Did you think she was psycho?
My cousin had just introduced us. Not even introduced us, just like, hey, talk to my friend about visiting Spain. So I friended her on Facebook, and of course, I'm like, got a Facebook stalk. So like, I'm just looking through the photos, and one of them, it was like, I think it was a festival in Spain, and she was just drenched in paint, and she's just smiling in the paint, and I'm like, Brittany, who the hell is this?
It's a festival of colors that's really important in India, and we're not going to talk too much about it because we do want to get to the lightning round.
Festival.
What, sorry?
The Holi Festival.
Exactly, the Holi Festival. And I went to, it's also celebrated in Spain, but as an Indian culture kind of thing. So it's not like a Spanish thing at all, please. So it's not a Spanish tradition, as I'm trying to say. I went to it as many years as I could. I think 3 though, because it depends on the year. They changed it up a little bit. And I got covered in colors. Sorry, and I love it. So I'm really, really big on color magic and color energy. And it goes something from like a festival like Holi Festival, and also my nails, my hair. I'm a very colorful person. I believe in color magic a lot.
Sweet. Color magic.
Basically. Lightning round. Yay!
Lightning round. I will ask you a whole lot of questions and answer as fast as you can. What is your favorite witchy movie?
Hocus Pocus.
Practical Magic.
Where is your favorite place to do a spell?
That was Ian.
But here's the thing, it's like what I was saying earlier. I don't really do spells, but I do practice like divination stuff, and I do that right in front of my altar.
Okay, my favorite place would be the ocean. So anytime that we're currently living like Barcelona next to the ocean would be there. Currently in the forest though, because we're right next to the forest / trees / nature.
Okay, so that's your favorite place, but where do you normally do your spells?
Right in front of my altar. I don't leave my house very much right now, people.
Well, you also live in a city. We live in the suburbs, so of course have nature right next to me.
Yes. If I was close to the park, I would just go to the park.
Exactly. I do normally though. Even though I'm really close to the nature because it is, it's not an everyday occurrence. Normally would be on the bedroom floor next to my altar.
Okay. What type of spells are your favorite?
I'll go first. My favorite type of spells are prosperity and self-love spells.
Bad witch Sam.
I do protection for my loved ones.
Yeah.
And I practice divination a lot.
Cool.
And self-love. I do protection and self-love. I don't know why I didn't mention that. I've been doing a lot of self-love stuff.
Yeah, I'm big on that. I like the protection. That I should do a little bit more. I would want to do a little bit more. But I do, self-love is my thing, and prosperity in all ways, shapes, and forms.
When you said that, I immediately thought of Sleepy Hollow and Katrina making the protection spell under Ichabod's bed as well as at the church.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good, I'm pretty proud of my like protection herbs that I've put together. I can put it into like necklaces or different things, or like on the sills of my the door frames of my house.
Oh, I love that.
I have it all in my altar, but inside of it, I carefully collected. I researched and listed off all of the things I put in it, but I also I carefully collected my cat's claws that fell off. So there are cat claws in there for extra protection.
I love that so much.
What is your favorite ingredient for a spell?
Essential oils.
As-
What she just said, basically, she already answered that one.
What is your favorite witchy holiday or festival?
For me, it's the summer solstice, as we already know, and Halloween, Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, I would say Halloween.
Halloween. Do you have an animal spirit? If yes, how many?
I've had so many throughout my life. I did. Okay, so sorry. I was like, I need to gather my thoughts on this one. It's like, how is this lightning round? No, I have a whole bunch. I've had a whole bunch. I've lived a kind of life that it's a lot of lives for one person, if that makes sense. If you know, you know. If you get it, you get it. So I've had a lot of different spiritual animals guide me through. I remember this, like, I had this Native American also meditation, and then like their spiritual animals came to me as well. So it really depends on the moment in my life, and I probably most likely always have the same one regardless as well. The ones that move on is because they teach me the lesson and then they move on, basically. Sam?
I did when I was a kid. I don't know if I still do, but when I was a kid, it was a hawk.
Nice.
That's a
Also,
good
I
one.
want to add to my favorite ingredients list. I would like to also put cinnamon and lavender on it.
Ooh, those are good ones.
Cinnamon.
Yes.
Mine would be pumpkin spice.
I wonder why.
I'm a basic white bitch. I love my pumpkin spice. Sam, you already said what animal yours is, dear?
Oh,
The type of animal.
the type of animal. I've had anything. I mean, when I was saying about like the Native American, I remember the fox. I feel like the fox is always with me as well. But I've had like a dragon and a unicorn and like a dolphin. You know what I mean? Like it's just the essence there, and tigers. I mean, that's also an obvious one. You know, me of cats, so it makes sense of that one as well.
I would say lion and raven.
Which awesome.
That sounds awfully familiar.
Hear me roar. Name.
Game of Thrones.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Name your favorite witchy character.
Danny from Hocus Pocus, Sabrina Spellman, and Samantha from Bewitched, and Maleficent. To name a few.
I feel like I'm having a breakdown. I was like, I remembered who I was thinking of, but then my brain was like, nope, we're deleting all the information if you can't remember. Sandra Bullock in Practical Magic.
There you go.
Practical magic.
Yeah, I love Practical Magic. I grew up on the island that they filmed it on.
Oh,
Nice. That's really cool. I would have to say Gandalf the Grey.
as he looks up thoroughly, okay.
I'm probably like my instant answer is that, but if I were to sit and really think about it, I could change my answer. Like, oh, Willow from Buffy the Vampire
Okay, I was
Slayer
gonna
is
say.
another really great one.
Hmm.
One of the
Willow
greatest
is really,
of
really
time.
great one, actually. I grew up with that character, so yeah.
I always love Professor McGonagall.
Plus, you would say Sabrina as well, but you would say
Oh,
Zelda.
Oh, and Zelda. Praise Satan.
Oh, on Zelda.
Praise Satan. Oh, I love her character so much. What is your strength as a witch?
Visualization,
Mhm.
dreams, manifestation, emotion.
Dreams, number 1. Spirits, number 2. Divination, manifestation.
Yep.
What is your weakness as a witch?
Ah, fuck.
I feel like on my behalf, it's gonna sound so random.
Meditation.
Meditation.
I hate meditation. I can't.
It's not for
do it.
everybody.
Ugh, my friggin' spirit guides and signs, they'll be like, you know what you should do today? I'll be like, what? And they'll be like, meditate. And I'll be like, I can't do that.
I was actually gonna say, in a more superficial, I guess, kind of term, would be like we move around a lot. So the fact that I don't have like a sacred space, like I was saying before with the altar, really ticks me off. So it's like I'm unstable. So I want to do like astral work and I want to do something more profound. And I don't know, I am just thrown off by like all the sorts of energy up in this place, basically.
The correct answer is fire.
Wait, as a weakness?
Yeah,
Why?
because they were burnt at the stake for being.
Oh. You and me were
Historic.
thinking about, but she's an Aries, but she's a dragon. But what are you talking about?
Historical joke. Huh. If you go back in time and meet anybody associated
With witchcraft, who'd it be and why?
That's actually a really good question.
with witchcraft,
I would choose actually.
David Bowie.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. It's like Freddie Mercury, you know what I mean? Oh wow. Oh wow. The first thing I thought of for talking about ancestors would be like probably my grandmother, because I never met her ish to some extent. I was too little. And my great grandmother and things like that, because I don't know what they practiced, but there are stories, and I would like to understand more of myself today and kind of like have a connection to some sort. So I would like to know more about them as well.
okay.
But I like,
Your answer is way better than mine.
I
I
like
just want to like listen to I coked out David Bowie talk about the occult.
it's still a solid answer though. It's still very solid. I like that answer a lot.
I don't know what that says about me, but that's where I'm at.
And that's okay. That's where you're at today. I mean, come on. It's also that moment of life, like, oh, I should be here. I should be there. I'm like, no, you are who you are today. This is your truth of today, this Tuesday. Roll with it, girl.
He got a little paranoid there for a while he was taking drugs and studying the occult.
I feel like you would choose Stephen King, but I mean, he's alive though.
You could pick Aleister Crowley.
But he's not associated with witchcraft.
What?
Mr. King. He's just as hard. I mean, no, I have no idea why she popped into my head.
But when we got our first tarot deck, it's like it's the classic version, if that means anything to anyone. But it's like the ones that you see mostly in
Yeah,
like
the
TV
Rider
shows.
Waite
The
tarot.
Rider Waite babes.
Yeah, and I remember. No, we have the deck, and one of the cards is actually just all of her information, like the original artist, and it just kind of tells her backstory. And for some reason, that she popped into my mind. Like
That's cool.
love to meet her, and
I
like
changed my answer.
I changed my answer, Jesus.
Not to this. I just thought of an even better answer.
All right.
Lilith. If I could go, let's go all the fucking way back. And if Lilith actually existed, because I can't say yes or no that she did, but if she did, I could go back and meet Lilith.
That's another solid answer.
Well, then if we're doing that, I want to meet
Or
Elizabeth
I got
Morningstar.
another one. I got another one. Sorry. My brain is bouncing all over history right now. This one could be a little terrifying. I might die. I could very well die. Actually, I'll probably die. Elizabeth Bathory.
Okay. Sorry.
You don't know why I would die?
What is she?
She bathed in the blood
of
virgin maids to live forever. She would be like, if Dracula was a real fucking dude, he would be like, girl, are you and me?
that, or wow, what a waste of blood.
I don't know. He might find her resourceful. She liked the different torture methods, just like you did. So,
Vlad, what a guy. And our final question: how much of a modern stereotype
Witch applied to you as a witch?
what stereotypes apply to me?
Yeah, I was like a modern witch. So for me, we talk about it on and off, you and me, literally. about the baby witches and the people we see, stuff like that. But no, seriously, I have witchy jewelry. I feel like that's probably a stereotype. I read tarot. I journal. I have a black cat and I want a white cat as well. I'm a little worldly, I want to say. I'm a little spiritual, of course. I think those. I meditate daily. So I think those are probably the stereotypical things that a quote unquote modern witch would categorize us, I guess. I use my pendulum. I love Salem. I love Sleepy Hollow. That's places.
I guess love of all things like spooky and Halloween.
Yeah. Love cemeteries.
Love cemeteries.
My black cat, always asking people what time they were born. So
exactly.
I can going outside, looking at the moon and saying, look at the moon.
Yep. Every single time. Seeing a cat. Seeing, oh my God, that's a kitty. Every single time. So yeah. So that's all your questions for this beautiful segment of ours?
I believe that's it.
Well, that was a fun show.
It was.
I hope you guys had as much fun as we did recording this episode, and that you guys learned about witchcraft and the veil and things like that. A lot of the questions were sent in as well, and a lot of the questions we get a lot, so I think that's always like a fun mix, of course. And yeah, if you have any more questions, drop them down below. If you have any more experiences, drop them down below. I'll definitely add the books and all the other resources and the tags and the people that you said at the beginning of the episode. I'll be there, basically.
People got to know us a little bit better today, too.
Exactly, which I was looking forward to that as well, I feel like. Probably because I feel like I want to keep saying this. I think recently I do have the other two podcasts, and I do talk a lot about not myself, but my personal experiences and like the guests' personal experiences. So I'm more used to that dynamic than our regular KPM dynamic, which is both ways are okay, of course. So this was fun. It's a great segue from the following episodes. We have 2 more to go at this point, or 8, and they're the ones that we do get personal. And yeah, so look forward to that in 2 weeks. Of course, every other Tuesday with Sam. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Have a good one.
Later.